was exciting for the Notre Dame community. Get to the national championship, okay?
Don't patronize us.
I'm not patronizing. I am being genuinely happy for you guys. As I said, I'm an honorary member of your community, sort of. But good news is that Shane Gillis, the just star benefactor for Notre Dame football, the unofficial mascot, the brand of Notre Dame football this year, he is committed. He wants to contribute to the NIL fund. Scott, I'm throwing this up here. Said after the game, I was looking at the confetti, watching Ohio State score. I called my agent immediately, and I was like, let's book a show and give all the money to Notre Dame, dude. And also, John Bon Jovi, who I didn't even realize he's a Notre Dame guy too.
Let's go.
So bright days for Notre Dame ahead for 2025. What do you think about this, dude?
Oh, this is beautiful stuff. We all heard the stories about Michigan, right? And Dave Portnoy, and was it Ellison too? And then you had Tom Brady in the ear of some people just trying to raise funds. Hey, man, Notre Dame has deep alumni base and deep pockets at that. This needs to happen. I'm glad, once again, Shane is at the vanguard of making this happen. And the fact that John Bon Jovi is the first to throw his hat in the ring or wallet in the ring, hopefully, awesome.
Dude. Well, that's the thing. That's what's like so interesting about the NIL era is like, okay, Ohio State had this $20 million roster. I don't know. Do you know what Notre Dame's roster was?
Yeah, it was. I think it was equivalent. It was either,
like comparable.
Yeah, 20 and a half, 21 million. I mean, that's why I said it was always disingenuous for people to be like, oh, of course they won with the $20 million roster. It's like, dude, 8 of the 12 teams in the college football playoff had that.
Yes. I mean, like you have to have that. But it's like, it's interesting because Ohio State, that's like, they're coming from the largest alumni base because they don't have like a big benefactor like Phil Knight, or they don't have that like Texas oil money, but they've got a huge alumni base. And that seems to be where their collective funds their money from. But Notre Dame getting a guy like Shane Gillis to do like a benefactor show. I'm going to throw this up. This is from his podcast, dude. Okay. Because the way he says it is actually hilarious. We do have a little bit of cursing in here, so we might have to bleep it out, but I'm going to play this 50-second clip from Matt and Shane's secret podcast.
Great season. We'll be back for sure. We got to raise some money for the Irish now.
No, they've got plenty of money, man.
No, I'm going to give them a little.
Those guys.
That's
where all the money's going.
That's where all the money's going. I'm going straight to Notre Dame football. I was looking
Booster Club's is eating, man.
Yeah. I was looking at the confetti, watching Ohio State score, just sitting there going, I called my agent immediately. I was like, let's book a show and give all the money to Notre Dame. Notre Dame needs a champion. I woke up the next day like, that's a lot of money.
You just take your half of the pros, like the fire show you're doing. Like, actually, Bill, I'll donate my own half to Notre Dame.
That's going to Notre Dame needs a D tackle. I need to give that to an 18-year-old. Great season.
I need to give that to an 18-year-old. Hey, sorry, I know that you were kind of in the vicinity of all the fires and everything, and he was to do a benefit show for the fires. It's actually going to go to an 18-year-old defensive lineman for Notre Dame. Dude, but this is actually a pretty interesting wrinkle now that this is just kind of becoming a mainstream thing in college football.
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. You had the old Texas teams. SMU got the death penalty back in the day for doing exactly this, paying players to come and play, and they were at the top of the world, right? This is exactly what we need. We need people raising money. The one thing I would say, and I've always said this, is that we need to start putting contract terms and like minimums. Because we can't have the hopping, right? We saw Pat Coogan just hopping out into the portal, and he was a pillar of the offensive line. So it's just it's tough to see. But Shane's right. At a certain point, they're going to go test the market, see what they can get, and if it's exorbitantly higher than what Notre Dame or any other team could give them that they're currently on, then they're probably going to take it, and that's a good business move on their part. And you can't necessarily fault them for taking advantage of that.
Yeah, I know. Like you don't really want to see it, but also you are happy for the individual kids. But I feel like Notre Dame, we saw a couple of those guys hopping into the transfer portal market or putting their name in the hat or in the ring for that. But I do feel like Notre Dame has a little bit more of a moat with kind of this NIL transfer portal hopping era because of the brand and because of like the tradition. And also what you get outside of football from Notre Dame, earning a Notre Dame degree. You know, it's not like, I would say the majority probably of the players on that roster, they do care about their academics as well. And so I feel like there's probably a little bit of a moat, but we are going to see a few guys kind of bouncing around and sleeking away, don't you think?
Yeah, definitely going to start seeing the trickling effect of people leaving those places like a Stanford, a Notre Dame, places with high academic standards. I mean, UVA being one of them as well. You know, those are places that just have a high barrier to entry academically, and it's more difficult to get high quality athletes there. The one thing I am actually surprised to see, though, is even though guys go there and generally they're there for things outside of just sports, I am surprised to see a fair number of them, or an increasing number of them, hopping ship, you know, and skipping over that mode as you're speaking to. So because they see like, hey, the money now is it's too hard to ignore, right? If you're getting millions upon millions of dollars right now, you have to extrapolate your degree, right, and what you learned, or the potential of that piece of paper and what that could end up making you in the future versus what you could make right now. And I think guys are just, it's becoming a very difficult decision for people to make, but I'm surprised to see that a lot of them are starting to make that immediate decision, or the money immediately now, than say future earnings that they could potentially get from having that degree. That's a larger conversation we're having in society. Like, how much is a college degree these days, even from higher institutions like Notre Dame or Stanford and so on and so forth.
True. Yeah, that's actually, that is interesting. You got to do the discounted cash flows. I failed my accounting at Georgetown. So I got this is serious right here. I got a 10% on my accounting final managerial.
Oh.
Right? Luckily, I had about a C in the class, and it didn't bring me down to a failure for the semester, but I did get a 10% on my managerial accounting, so I wouldn't make it.
Did you say that was a final? What was that weighted? How did you have a C and then get a 10%?
I ended up with a D, dude. I ended up with a D. I don't know what it was weighted.
Extra credit helped.
I do some extra credit. I will say I was the first one done with the final. I was got to count for something.
Cut your losses. Just cut your losses.
It was, like, I remember I texted my mom right after. I think I failed my accounting final. I might have to retake that. Anyway,
straight up.
Yeah, there we go. But it is also because Stanford is down right now. Like, you mentioned UVA, and then we're talking about like kind of these premier academic institutions, not us lowly 1AA guys like at the Georgetown and the Yales, but the 1As. And I would put the top two with the best academic brands at Notre Dame and Stanford. And right now, while Stanford is so down football wise, if you are a 4-star athlete or a high 3-star athlete who cares about the academics, and you are like driven by that, or have that motivation, you're going to go to Notre Dame. You're not going to go to Stanford right now until they're able to get them. So who else would you put in that conversation besides UVA? Duke? Vanderbilt?
Duke is definitely in there. Vanderbilt's like right below, like a rung underneath those, in my opinion. You can maybe toss Wake Forest in there, but those guys are trying to get into that top tier. Obviously, there are a lot of universities out there that compare and or beat those ones that we just mentioned, but it's like it's very clear that those ones have a wildly different standard than those that we see generally across the top 25.
Absolutely. Well, dude, speaking of maybe dipping out or leaving where you were last season, Jim Knowles, and for those just listening, I have got a hilarious meme. I can't even describe this meme. It's the meme where it's a party and there's a guy in the corner who's saying, they don't know I'm going to Penn State. You've probably seen this. Just check out the video version here. But Jim Knowles, defensive coordinator for Ohio State, going to Penn State. Dude, did you hear? Apparently there was like really some friction between him and Ryan Day and maybe some other coaches on that staff there, and that he was looking to get out ASAP there. And also that he was not allowed, because they knew he was in conversation with Penn State, maybe some negotiations or considering the job. They didn't allow him to come, Ohio State, to the national championship celebration with the team. Did you hear about this?
Yeah, I heard there was something like, okay, while you're deciding, because they knew that he had been getting offers and had been interviewing, that while he was deciding to stay away from the program, just take the time to go ahead and figure this out. Like, we don't want it to be a nuisance for you to have to celebrate something while you're making such a big decision. But ultimately, I think it was more of, clearly, if you're interviewing, you're already leaving us. So like, how about you just stay away?
Right. Dude, but it's like, Is this kind of a lateral move or a step down for Knowles? It's like you're the DC of the national championship winning team. And you're going to like Penn State. This is a team that you play that Penn State lost to Ohio State last year. Like, to me, this kind of feels like a lateral, if not step down move for him.
Yeah, this is interesting because I think he has family both. There was speculation that he would either go to Oklahoma because I guess his wife is from Oklahoma and they have deep roots down there. And then on top of that, I guess his side of the family is from Pennsylvania. So like if you're talking about a personal familial decision, this does make sense. But at the same time, in terms of lateral movement, it sounds like the offer that he got was like 3.1 mil a year as a DC. That's wild in the college ranks. And Penn State clearly opened up the checkbook and is opening up the checkbook because they got so close yet so far away from the championship this year. So they're willing to cannibalize within the Big Ten to make sure that they're on top next year or the years following. What I heard was Ohio State was their match was way below that number. So it wasn't even like a thought. It was like we're talking about players having to make decisions, right? Yeah. When the dollar's in front of them. So it's really hard to fault him from a monetary standpoint if a team's willing to pay him that. Like you are what somebody's willing to pay you, right? That's your worth. And clearly he thought it was a thankless job at Ohio State to a certain extent based on the number that they put forth to him.
Yeah, dude, that's the thing. Like, I mean, there's oftentimes situations where, okay, it's natural. A coordinator's going to leave and like the head coach, the staff, you're going to be happy for him. And it's
like Al Golden did that to us at Notre Dame. Like he went back.
Yeah. But this seems like it was a little bit messy here and maybe a little bit of bad blood with the departure. It'll be interesting when they play each other next year. But you're right, dude. I just checked it out. He is a Pennsylvania guy. He's from Philly. He's also a Cornell guy, dude. He was the head coach at Cornell up until 2009. So I think what years were you at Yale?
My first year was 2009. So shoot.
You played against him.
I didn't. I was standing on the sidelines, buddy.
Well, so was he. He was a coach. So he was not available.
I played practice squad Cornell, so kind of.
There we go. Kind of. This dude, yeah. And then he also, speaking of academic institution, he was also at Duke for a while. No, okay. Going home to Pennsylvania. Interesting to see. Well, speaking of all this, dude, we have like the way too early possible 2025 or 2026, I guess it is, playoff prediction here. Let's take a look. For those just listening, it is the brackets. A theoretical bracket for 2026. And for me, by the way, on this one, for those just listening, they do have Penn State as the theoretical champion. The wildest thing in this prediction here, the craziest, is UNC coming in at number 11. That is a bold prediction with Billy Belichick coming in there and getting UNC to the College Football Playoff in his first year. Do you think there is any chance of this, Scott?
The machine knows something we don't, I guess. I mean, because this is per ESPN. Of course, they would throw something out like Penn State, boy. But like UNC, wild to throw them in there. Granted, I'm sure that Bill is bringing in some stupid talent, especially coming out of the portal. Sure. I haven't heard a big name yet going over there and hopping over there, but there's still time, and I'm sure that's going to happen. I think the other stranger things are you're going to have Michigan and Ohio State playing one another back to back. And then what's beautiful here, I didn't know that Notre Dame could actually get a first round bye because they're going to be playing the LSU Tigers, and that's going to be a slaughter. So, dude, like,
hey, that's your former coach you're talking about.
Not my coach.
Not my coach. Don't even start with that. Not my coach. Yeah, I mean, how do you feel about this theoretical ESPN bracket having Penn State knock out Notre Dame in that second round right there? Disrespectful?
So disrespectful. I mean, I understand that Notre Dame lost a few. I just mentioned Al Golden left. Great for him. True. Good move on his part. But Marcus Freeman is finding the right backfills. He's building from within. We know he's building the culture. So I'm not scared of that at all. I just know Penn State opening up the checkbook. I don't know how well things are going to jive. I don't know how well they're going to continue their path forward. They need to find like even more offensive firepower in my estimation. Losing Abdul Carter, who knows how they're going to replace him on the defense. What's crazier here, dude, is Utah. Like Utah getting to the Final Four.
Yeah, that's actually a little bit wild. Dude, Utah is just, they are sneaky good. And we got to give the Big 12 a little bit of respect here. Like, I always am a little concerned about Utah. It's also just like, it is a beautiful stadium with the mountains in the backdrop. You seen that?
Yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous. And I guess, okay, maybe I walk it back because when you have a quarterback who's 45 years old in college still in Canada, you might have a shot.
Guy is a major veteran. All right, wait, and this bracket also has Louisville and Alabama. Dude, Louisville, you think they're going to be good?
I mean, they always have some dangerous teams that just crop up, right? Because they have a weird ability to get insane talent through their doors, right? So you had Teddy Bridgewater before, and then all of a sudden you had Lamar Jackson. So like, I want to put it past them to be able to snag an athlete like that that'll just come out of the woodwork and surprise everybody this year. So that one actually doesn't blow my mind as much as, say, UNC or even Utah.
The UNC one, man, I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a little bit of a hater, but Belichick is a legend.
Yeah.
But I think to flip that whole thing in 1 year, also your first year in the college ranks, it's a new experience for him. Granted, with the NIL and the transfer portal, it is leaning a little bit more professional. And you listen to these guys talk, and they talk about how, it actually feels closer to the NFL than to the previous system of college football. But I don't know, dude. Maybe I'm gonna have to eat my words here and be shocked. It would be an absolutely incredible and really like elevate Belichick's iconic status.
Yeah, look, if there's anybody who's able to do it, it's probably him because of the structure he can bring to the football program and those young moldable minds of the 18-year-olds and hopefully not 28-year-olds. But yeah, like I think if anybody can do it, it's him. I think one of the things he's really going to have to contend with is the fact that UNC is it's not just like a Joe Schmo school, right? They do have academic standards as well.
True.
Granted, they're not in that top tier that we were mentioning before, but they're close. I mean, they're formidable academic institutions. So I think what's going to be interesting is him having to deal with the fact that these guys are student athletes, and that's a vastly different experience than, say, the pro level, even though there may be business dealings that are akin to one another now with NIL. I think that's an element that will really be, or a variable that will really be interesting to see how he handles going forward. So I think that's the biggest thing for him. But if anybody could do it, it's Bill.
Yeah. The other thing that surprises me or gives me a little bit of pause here in this is Texas getting knocked out there. I mean, they've got incredibly high expectations. If that were to play out like that, that would be very disappointing for Texas. Also, like with Arch Manning coming in, and we saw him playing a little bit this year. But dude, a lot of people wish that they played with Arch Manning this year in the second half of the season or in the playoffs. And if they're going to be bumped by Utah, it's going to be disappointing for the big oil money Longhorns, dude.
Yeah, McConaughey is not going to be happy.
McConaughey is going to be disappointed. It is not all right. Dude, all right, speaking of these, I want to buzz to the East-West Shrine game here.
Ooh.
Staying on college, okay, because this came out. This was very, very cool. I know we weren't Division III guys, but we were smaller school guys.
We were D1, dude. Don't take it away from us.
I won't take that from us. Will you? I'll share this here. So, Thomas Perry, this dude got invited. I think he's one of the. He's from Middlebury, which Division III NESCAC, New England Small College Athletic Conference, NESCAC schools. And for those just listening, we've thrown up here. He's going against a Georgia defensive lineman, and he's absolutely winning this rep right here. And a few other clips came out of him like really holding his own against this SEC talent. And he is really making a name for himself right here. Thoughts on this, Scott? Giving a little love and spotlight to smaller schools. D3.
Yeah, love the love coming to D3 schools here. But this guy couldn't be further from the general mid kid that's out here. Apparently he's like he is not cut from the same cloth as most of them. This guy apparently is one of the strongest dudes in college ball, definitely in Division III, and the numbers I guess he's putting up are stupid high. So one of the things I'm most impressed to see is just the footwork and his ability to correct here. especially right there, getting his feet underneath him and staying balanced it's so incredibly impressive. Because like you were saying, these SEC guys that they're going up against, I think that's a Georgia dude he's facing right now. Yeah. I mean, they're usually tossing guys at this level just to the side, and that's why they're at Georgia. But this is wildly impressive, incredible footwork and keeping his hands inside. Pretty nuts.
Dude,
Bill Belichick freaking out that he's not in the NFL right now, able to snag this guy.
Dude, this dude would get drafted by Belichick in the first round right here. Belichick would trade up, get this D3 guard that nobody's ever heard of, and it'll end up being a Hall of Famer. I was trying to look it up if there are like any of the small college guys that ended up being successful in the NFL, because of course, most guys that we've heard of are coming from Division 1A.
I'll give you one. London Fletcher. Insane prominence. Dude, he was a linebacker for, I think it was like 18 years, something insane. Smaller
stature. Where did he go to college?
He was John Carroll in Cleveland. So, yeah. So he's like, talk about small college dude who had an insane career, and honestly is second to none in terms of linebacking. Like, I don't know of a linebacker that had such sustained success for that long ever in the NFL.
Dude, to play linebacker, like one of the most physical positions. Also, this was, he started playing in 98 in the NFL. That's back when you could still hit people and there was still physical contact allowed in the NFL.
Yeah.
Dude, Division 3, John Carroll. Good for him, man. Because I was looking up. It's like there's a couple other guys that became really big names. Like Jerry Rice played at a 1AA school. Yep. James Harrison played at a 1AA school. But it would be cool to see also now how that college football is getting so shaken up, to see if some guys kind of slip through the cracks or climb up through the cracks from some of these smaller schools and really make a name for himself. Because also, dude, some guys are just late developers. It's like some of the guys I played with out here, like wide receiver Rudy. He played Division 3 college football because he was just a little bit of a late developer. This dude would be, he ended up becoming an NFL prospect and being in NFL camps. He almost made the roster with the Colts coming out of a Division 3 college. So it's rare, but it's cool to see when this kind of stuff happens, dude. It's just like inspiring.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's even more special to see a D3 guy or a D2 guy get this love. But you can even point to like Cooper Kupp. He was left out. I think he was an Eastern Washington dude. Like these guys, there's something that, talk about chip on the shoulder, right? You can talk about Baker Mayfield and him coming out of college and having that chip on his shoulder, which is great. And it drove him to incredible heights, Heisman winner, all of that stuff. But when you see guys like this, they're not getting the love, especially when they're centers, offensive linemen coming out of these places. They're not getting any shine. Shine.
He's Division 3 and he's an offensive lineman. He's everything's up against him, dude. He's got no privilege. He's got to grind through it all. And we're hoping. I was trying to look it up to see what his actual draft stock is. I didn't find it. We have to look that up to see like if he would actually be projected to get drafted.
Yeah,
I saw the highest ever D3 guy drafted. There was someone drafted in the second round. But I don't know maybe that. But it's cool to see there. You just mentioned Baker Mayfield, dude. Let's pivot then to the NFL because that coaching carousel, man, has almost come to a completion. All right. And Baker Mayfield was coached this past year in Tampa Bay by Liam Coen, was the offensive coordinator and kind of like the quarterback whisperer, and really revitalized Baker's career down there and really got him solidified as a franchise quarterback. He's going now to Jacksonville, and we're going to talk about that in a second. I know Mikey has got a question for us that I'll play here in a second. For those of you who have noticed, Mikey is not here with us today, if you're just noticing. He'll be back on Friday. We'll play that in a second. But, Scott, did you see this clip of Liam Coen arriving in Duuuuval County? Okay, this is the county where the Jacksonville Jaguars are. And this clip is going very viral because it's pretty cringy. Will you throw this up, please, Scott?
Jacksonville, the community. Duuuuval.
We're losing every game next year. We're losing every game.
Dude.
Jacksonville, the community. Duuuuval.
Duuuuval. First of all, How the hell do you move your eyebrows like that? All right, I'll say, guy did a great job in Tampa Bay. He was fantastic for Baker Mayfield. This scares the hell out of me. This is something is off, dude. That makes me feel like, oh, no way this works. This is going to be a disaster. I know I'm judging a book by its cover, and this has nothing to do with football, but that's negative 1,000 aura, and it freaks me out, dude. How do you feel about that Liam Coen press conference?
Oh my gosh. I mean, impressive to have, like you said, the eyebrow motion along with the head sway and getting that.
I didn't do that.
This is dad energy right here. A little cringy. I mean, no, very cringy. It's
cringy.
tough. It's tough to watch that and be like, "Yep, Jacksonville's on the up and up, man. We're gonna do it." But at the same time, you gotta look back at call it the last 5-6 years of initial coaching interviews and them addressing reporters for the first time, right? So you got the infamous Dan Campbell eating kneecaps, doing all that kind of stuff. Dude sounded like an absolute buffoon up there, but boy, were we proven wrong. You got Sirianni. I don't know what came out of that. Don't know what. That was insane. And then you have like the Gases and all that stuff where his eyes were like staring at the screen and everything. Granted, that didn't work out, so that happened. So there are two different ways this can go. Either bottom of the barrel or all the way to the top, as I said. So there's no in between.
This is going to be on an extreme end of the spectrum, one way or another. I do have this other clip of him going into the facility and him interacting with some of the players. All right.
What's up,
Trevor?
How's it going, man? How are you?
This is that energy, bro.
Trevor, Ashley. This
You
is
dap
my wife,
up?
Ashley, this is Trevor Lawrence. What's going on?
Oh, dude, this Yale dude.
We've competed against each other before, man. When I was at Brown.
Yale guy?
Yeah. What's going on, Christian? How are you doing, bro? Spencer Whipple. You know Spencer Whipple? Great friend of mine, man. Great friend of mine. Ryan Gold. Great friend of mine. What up?
Okay. All right, so that's like a little bit better. Like he's fine there. I mean, he's not giving that weird Duuuuval energy. He does feel a little bit more relatable, and he is. He's a young coach. I think he's 38 or 39. The concern I do have, aside from the Duval mishap, which I will never ever forget, even if he wins 7 Super Bowls, I'll be like, yeah, but he did that weird Duval thing. So is it worth it? Maybe not. But he's been bouncing around so much, dude. He has not stayed at the same place. Have you looked at his like coaching resume?
I just pulled it up because I was like, wait a minute. I feel like.
Can you read it? Dude, everywhere. Can you read off some of the last?
All right, since 2010, I'll just rattle them off. He was at Brown as a quarterbacks coach. Brown, nice. Then Rhode Island, 2011, pass game coordinator. Then back to Brown as the quarterbacks coach from 2012 to 2013. Played him. Interesting. Then UMass, his pass game coordinator for 14 to 15. Then Maine, 16 to 17. Then all of a sudden, he was O coordinator there at Maine. Then hop into the Rams for 18-19 as an assistant wide receivers coach. Then elevated at the Rams, 2 years in a row. Wow, what do you know? Assistant quarterbacks coach. Then he hops over to Kentucky, 2021, OC and quarterbacks coach. Then back to the Rams, 2022, OC. Wow, that's a exponential rise right there.
Yeah, it's a crazy rise.
And then he went back to Kentucky in 2023 as an OC quarterbacks coach, and then to the Bucs and had a great year with Baker there, and then is now the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's journeyman.
Dude, it is journeyman. So that's like a little. I mean, I know it's different with coaching, and it's not necessarily like not necessarily a red flag, but he hasn't been at the same place for more than a year, dude. It's like you're hiring him as a head coach. Also, that is an exponential rise right there. Going from Kentucky OC, it's like a tier 2 or tier 3 Division 1 team, to the OC of the Rams. Also, it wasn't 22 when they won the Super Bowl.
I think so, dude.
I think it's when they won the Super Bowl. Well, that's So I mean, like his resume is interesting. And also, dude, there was kind of the debacle of how he handled everything, kind of a little bit of shadiness. Remember with the dealing with the Buccaneers, and they wanted to make him the highest paid coordinator in the league and it's giving Ben Johnson type money. And then it was just a little bit sketchy and shady. So we'll see. Liam Coen to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, it can't go anywhere but up with that organization. Let's check out Aaron Glenn to the Jets, obviously coming off the DC job with the Lions, and he had to deal with the most amount of injuries on a side of the ball in the league, I think. This will give us just a little taste. Last week we watched a little bit of Aaron Glenn from a couple years ago, but this is a taste of him as a head coach in New York. Let's check it out.
Aaron Rodgers be your quarterback?
You're going to continue to ask me the same question and get the same answer. We're still in evaluation mode. So for anybody else going to ask that, I'm going to give you the same answer. So don't waste your time. We're clear.
Well, let's answer that. What do you look for in a quarterback? Like, what's an Aaron Glenn quarterback?
A winner. A winner. Mental and physical toughness. When you talk about, you're not going to get me.
Well, let me ask you this. You know, Parcells over, you know, I know you guys are close. He always said...
That's Parcells.
Okay.
I'm Aaron Glenn.
Okay, so you don't...
That's Parcells. I'm Aaron Glenn.
Okay, so there's Aaron Glenn. My first impression there, he's got a little more aura than Liam Coen. Feels a little bit more self-confident, I guess, in the way that he communicates. Granted, he is more experienced and an older fella. Thoughts on this, Scott? How do you feel about it?
Yeah, he's got moxie here, and this is exactly what the Jets need. Not that Robert Saleh didn't have moxie. It just seems like when he got the head coaching job, he sort of buttoned up in a way that wasn't characteristic of Robert Saleh.
Dude, that was the thing that bothered me about Saleh at the Jets, because you saw him at the 49ers. That's when Joey was at the 49ers on the practice squad, my brother. And then you said, like, this dude has crazy, incredible energy. It is just so contagious, invigorating. And then he went to the Jets, and it felt like he had to be something, or he felt like he had to be something that he was not. Aaron Glenn feels like he's being his authentic self here, which I like. I think that's
and I mean, look, he's a former player for that organization, and you could tell he's just bringing the energy and the mindset and perspective of a former player into the coaching world, as opposed to trying to fit into the coaching world. He's just making it his own, blazing his own path, and it's clear as to how he succeeded with the Lions over the past few years, especially this past one. Working with absolutely nothing. And boy, is he working with kind of absolutely nothing at the Jets. But technically, their defense is actually great.
That's what we got with the Jets. Another new coach for the Dallas Cowboys, Jerry's boys. This is getting quite a bit of criticism that they went with Schoppenheimer. And all right, hold on, let me pull this. Oh, there we go. It's up right here. The Cowboys are in a little bit of a denial, I would say.
Also evaluating where it didn't go right, in terms of, this drought that people say we're in terms of a championship game or a Super Bowl. And obviously,
Steven, it's not this drought that people say you're in. It's this drought that you're in.
Yeah.
So, Scott, thoughts on the denial? The denialism of the Jones fan?
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to use air quotes when it's factually true.
Right.
Dude, like, you got to have some self-awareness in this situation and understand that, yes, you have to have confidence, right? You have to have it in order to win in the NFL. But at the same time, have some self-awareness and understand, like, honestly, speak to the fandom, because they're so incredibly loyal and so large. You have to get them on your side even more so. And you have to get them energized in a way that'll help maybe tertiarily energize your organization at the same time. So you got to speak the truth here, man, and be like, look, we're not playing up to the level that we're supposed to play at as being America's team and the Cowboys. Don't take this road as though everybody else, what their eyes are showing them is not true. It's like, buddy, it absolutely is true.
Dude, it's like I hate this term, but it's gaslighting the Dallas Cowboys. And they're like, oh, you think we're in a drought? What makes you like, yeah, bro, you're in a drought. And the fans are pretty pissed off. I'm throwing up a tweet right here just for those listening. It's a tweet from a guy named Ernie the Cowboys fan. Okay, he's a Cowboys fan. You're the Dallas Cowboys, the most valuable sports franchise in the world. You have a top 10 franchise QB. You have an all-pro wide receiver, a young and promising O-line, the best defender in the NFL. Okay, I don't really know if I believe that anymore. 2 all-pros at cornerback, the 12th pick in the draft, no salary cap for coaches. And still, you can't bring in a top candidate. Jerry Jones is embarrassing, and this front office is the worst in the NFL. This dude went in on the Cowboys, man. What do you think? Cowboy fans are not feeling good, dude. Also, when you look at like their division, 2 of their division rivals made it the NFC Championship game, and they're in this drought still.
I mean, man, he's speaking truth here. At a certain point, you have to recognize, if you're Jerry, that there is a common denominator here, and you have to sort of shift your approach. Obviously, he's a great businessman. And we all know that. There's no way he would be owning an NFL organization that's worth $10.1 billion if he weren't. But at the same time, let's focus on the gameplay. And maybe you're not the best, at least at this point in time, the best person to help that flourish.
Mikey has given us from the Ethernets, he has given us a question.
Michael.
Ben Johnson, Pete Carroll, Mike Vrabel, all these coaches that are moving around and these new hires from coordinators. Okay, out of this list, which of these coaches would you most want to play for and least want to play for?
So this is the list of the new head coaching hires. Obviously, the Saints job, we don't know yet, but all the other ones. Raiders got Pete Carroll. Patriots got Mike Vrabel. Jets got Aaron Glenn. Jaguars got Duuuuval, Liam Coen. Cowboys got Schottenheimer. And the Bears got Benjamin Johnson. All right, let's rank these, dude, of who we would most and least likely to play for.
Okay. Yeah, you go first here.
You want me to go first? Okay. Man, dude, I would probably least like to play. This is going to be a little bit of a controversial one, maybe. I don't know. I was thinking of saying Ben Johnson just because he's a pure offensive guy, and he also I didn't totally believe his authenticity in his opening thing. I'm gonna go with Liam Coen, dude. Liam Coen, I'd like to play for. The Duuuuval has got me scarred. I'm weirded out. Who's your least likely? Your least want to play for?
You know what? It's too easy to say Liam least likely, but I gotta say just Brian Schottenheimer, because it's not due to him specifically, but it's everything that's surrounding the Dallas Cowboys and the Jerry shadow that covers the field, or so to speak. You know, him landing in his helicopter midfield, showing people around. It feels like, I don't know, it feels more like a parade when you're there playing at the Cowboys, and the expectations are incredibly high all the time, and as they should be for an NFL team. But I don't know, the Cowboys is just an organization that I don't think I would ever want to play. Granted, if I was ever offered an opportunity, of course I would play for them, but I don't think I'd ever do that.
You guys looking for a couple of guys, a couple of podcasts to come on in? We are available. Take us, Jerry. Dude, that's got to be frustrating for people in the Cowboys organization, or also Cowboys fans, as we saw that dude tweeting, just so emotional and just spitting it all out. Like, how much does Jerry really care about wins, playoff wins and Super Bowl? Or does he care about the business and the show of it all? Because it is still the biggest brand. They bought it for what, like 180 million back in the day, and now it's worth 10 billion. It's like, by that metric, it's a massive success. How can we talk about any of these failures? It's a massive, massive success. And it almost feels like they're just okay being relevant and increasing their valuation, and these poor fans who are having to watch everyone else in their division make smart moves and hire guys like Dan Quinn, who the Cowboys could have had as their head coach, and they're just seeing them all get passed by. I think it's like a purgatory for these Cowboy fans. Dude.
Yeah. The crazy thing is I think you're right, but there's also Jerry's getting frustrated because he's making the argument that he's actually trying his best and his darndest to make things happen. So it's this weird back and forth.
Yeah, well, I saw that when he got pissed off at some people who were like, "What do you mean? This is totally outside our comfort zone. What have you?" It's like, dude, it doesn't match up. It doesn't match up at all. So, all right, Schottenheimer's a good. We go Liam Coen and Brian Schottenheimer. Sorry, guys, we're not as bad as you want me and Scott on your team. We're not going to play.
Look, okay, we may have recency bias in choosing these people because all the other ones we probably know more about versus like these two that are just kind of out of left field, and that's the reason for my decision. And granted, yes, I said I was talking about Brian's father. You know, he's should be a Hall of Famer, one of the few coaches in the NFL who has 200 plus wins in his career and all that kind of stuff. So clearly, you know, he's probably gleaned something from his father and growing up and him being in football. But at the same time, that's the extent of what most people know about him, is that he's got the name.
Yeah. So that's about it. We're going to find out next year what he can do. First time being a head coach, never even really in conversations for head coaching jobs. Never even really in a conversation as a top coordinator, even didn't even call plays for the Cowboys last year. Not really sure what Jerry's hey, he's the businessman with a $10 billion team. And I do not
just going to try something goofy this year. Let's just see what happens. Also, what is up with the Saints, man? Nobody wants to go there. You saw Cliff Kingsbury pulled his name out of the ring and he wants to stay in Washington. Dude. Great move by him, I think. I think he probably watched Ben Johnson do what he did. Get another year under your belt, get another year of wild success. Make sure you're right before you take that job again. And you find the right spot, because the Saints, what's going on at quarterback? We don't know if Derek Carr is coming back. They got a lot of money out the door because they kicked the can down the road for a lot of these contracts. So they're going to be bleeding out or not able to make moves that they need to. And then on top of that, you have Mike McCarthy pulling his name out too and saying he's going to focus on 2026 cycle and just take this year to kind of reset himself. So boy, the Saints are in trouble.
I really respect that for those coaches who are not just like jumping the gun and like, ooh, head coaching job, let me get that. Because especially like Cliff Kingsbury, dude, you are in a great spot. You have one of the best young talents at quarterback. He's wildly successful, made it all the way to the NFC Championship game against everybody's expectations this year. Let that play out a little bit. Just like you said, pull the Ben Johnson move, man. It's like you don't want to go to a place where the quarterback is uncertain. And at the Saints, it is. And even if you have Carr there, like as the starting quarterback, he's on like the back half of he's in the back nine, dude. And he's not really in the conversation as the top 12 quarterback. And that's what Ben Johnson was talking about when he waited for that Bears job. He waited. He wanted to go there because he had that Caleb Williams talent.
That's not to say that Caleb Williams is in a top 12 conversation here.
No. You're right. Let me clarify myself. He's very talented. He's young. He's raw, and he has a lot of potential. Okay, and that is why Ben Johnson sees some possibilities there. Mikey has another question for us.
Michael.
Okay.
And leading up to the Super Bowl, which do you think will have a better tailgate? And on top of that, which fan base would you rather be a part of, and why?
Ooh.
Also,
three-parter.
Base would win in a fight. These are just some of the musings that go on in my head. I'd love to hear what you think.
Okay. Which fan base would win a fight?
I've been thinking about it a little bit, and I think I'm cheering for Kansas City this Super Bowl, man. I can't see Philly win. Ooh. I can't see that. That's going to be too painful.
Oh, good. There we go, Scott. Again, I'm not a Notre Dame fan. I'm not a Chiefs fan. But I posted a video on X today about from one of our podcasts how hating on seeing something great like a dynasty it's un-American. We shouldn't be doing it. Philly fans, dude, I'm going to throw this clip up right here. Okay, good. We got it up. Philly fans would win in a fight. Also, Philly fans would start the fight. This is disgusting of these Philly fans harassing this poor Commanders fan, dude. Commanders fan, they're just happy to be there. You know, they're kind of a Cinderella story. They lost the game. They got killed.
It's one, dude.
Man, that's disgusting.
It's one thing to do the taunting and the heckling and all that kind of stuff, but once you start touching the dude or taking the things, like that's where it crosses the line. It's like, come on, man. It's a kid's game that everybody's in love with for sure, but like, let's not take it to a new level like this.
Yeah, dude. Also, this is like not the first time this month even that we've seen Philly fans in the news or in the conversation, the pop culture conversation for acting like this. It's just like, dude, people say it's going to games in Philadelphia as an opposing fan. Like you are going to go through it. It is the harsh environment. They are the meanest fan base. So I would not want to be a part of that, dude. I like to be nice. I like to get along with people. So I don't want to be a part of the Philly fan base.
I get it being known for being an intense fan base and everything like that, but it seems like there's something else under the surface, and I don't know what it is with Philly guys or Philly fans. They just they lean into it a little too hard to a point in which like your inside demons are really coming out right now, and it has nothing to do with football. And that's more of a problem with the community vibe here I'm getting. But, you know, the Johns are known for this. It's it's part of entering into their domain. And but I think some dudes definitely lean into it way too hard.
Yeah, dude. I mean, like that right there. That's sad. The poor Commanders walking away. Those teams just got killed. He's by himself. I don't like that. So I'm not going to join the Philly fandom, but I do think that they would win a fight against the Chiefs. There we go. We did it. We did it. We survived without Mikey, and that was a good.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked it. I mean, obviously, I didn't like it more without Mikey. I wish Mikey was here. That's not what I meant, Michael.
You have dug yourself a hole. Right? There's no shot Mikey watches this part though. Oh, you can
anything over 8 minutes for him is just nope.
It's called a Gen Z attention span. You got to put up like another thing of just stimulating scrolls. And don't worry, we're not singling out Mikey. We're singling out an entire generation of all of you guys with TikTok brains. All right, there we go. Yeah. Good one, Scott. Okay, so we'll be back on Friday, and it might be an interview show, or that might be next week. We'll see. Cool. All right, dude. Everyone, thanks for watching. See ya.